Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Carlos Alcaraz versus Alexander Zverev, Madrid 2023, round of 16. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. For the second year in a row, an absolute demolition job by Alcaraz over Zverev. Last year it was in the final. We know the circumstances. Late night before Zverev, probably went to bed at 4 a.m. before the final after the semis. But that one was a 6-3, 6-1 win for Alcaraz. He did even better this time. 6-1, 6-2. Carlitos drops just 3 games to advance to the Madrid quarterfinal. He is the defending champion. But this is Zverev's best tournament. He is 21-4 now after the loss. He's 21-4 in Madrid. He says it's his favorite place in the world to play. And Alcaraz has now crushed him twice in a row. That being said, it's not as if the history of this head-to-head has been all in Alcaraz's favor, even now, because I believe for Alcaraz, this was probably quite a therapeutic win. Looking back at last year, if Carlitos were to have one match back, one match where he could change the result, it might be that Roland Garros quarterfinal. Just assuming the majors are the most important thing for Alcaraz, which I think is a safe assumption. You can go through the list. Australian Open, lost to Berrettini. Expectations weren't really too high at that point. Then you have the quarterfinal loss to Zverev. Then Wimbledon, getting used to the surface. Once again, the expectations just weren't quite there, and he loses to Jannik Sinner, who played a near-perfect match. All right, U.S. Open, he doesn't lose at all. So just looking back, I think the Zverev loss was probably his most painful defeat of last year. I'd love to ask him the question, and I think, but that's my guess that would be his answer. So, first time playing Zverev since that, and Alcaraz is able to get another very dominant victory where his level was through the roof. And we'll talk about kind of what went wrong here for Zverev. Obviously, a combination, whenever you get a blowout like this, a combination of Alcaraz with, bringing an A-plus performance and Zverev bringing a subpar possibly we're talking maybe in the D range for his performance. And that's how you get the blowout here. Of course, Zverev working his way back from the injury that he sustained in the match after beating Alcaraz in that quarterfinal in Paris when he played Nadal in the semis. And how's that going? Just, a big picture look at Zverev. He's 12-12 this year. After a very slow start, he's had some decent runs. He's strung together a couple of wins at a few events here and there. I think Dubai semifinals, a couple of wins at Indian Wells, a couple of wins at Monte Carlo. But he is 0-5 against top 20 opponents. So Zverev he's yet to beat an excellent player. He's yet to beat a top 20 player. His most impressive results of the season are probably the 2 losses to Daniil Medvedev. He's pushed Medvedev to 2 third-set tiebreaks. That's never a good sign when your best results are losses, but I do believe that's the case for Zverev. His best wins are Yuri Lehechka on a hard court, Roberto Bautista Agut on a clay court, Monte Carlo. So those are his best wins. That's where we're at with Zverev right now. Let's talk about the match. From the very start, this was just not good for Zverev. His first service game, Alcaraz with an opening hold. So Zverev serving at love 1. 2 double faults early in the game to keep Alcaraz in it. Alcaraz is returning really, really deep. So Zverev looks to mix in a couple of serve and volleys. And he has the volleys both times, and he just doesn't execute them. So he misses a couple of volleys off of the S and V. And then late in the game, he misses a bunch of easy forehands. And that's how it starts. Early break for Alcaraz, 2-love, really good serving in this match from Carlitos. So he wasn't in any kind of mood to really give up opportunities or gift back breaks of serve in this match. So that was how things started, and it just continued to snowball and get worse and worse and worse for Zverev. I talked about the forehands, the missed forehands late in that opening service game. That was the biggest problem in this match. Zverev's forehand was the biggest liability on the court by far. He has 0 chance of ever winning a match against Carlos Alcaraz if he doesn't hit his forehand much better than he did in this match, period. It hurt him both offensively and defensively. Alcaraz really enjoyed the forehand-to-forehand exchanges, particularly because there was no threat of forehand down the line from Zverev. He just didn't have that shot going, and Alcaraz was able to really lean to the cross court, make sure not to get beat with the forehand cross court from Zverev. Didn't really have to worry about the forehand down the line much. There also wasn't much serve +1 execution from Alexander Zverev. Carlitos, his return strategy was pretty defensive, very far back, putting a lot of air under the return, not always getting great depth or great quality on the return of serve, knowing that he didn't really need to, that he just needed to get the return in play, and he felt pretty safe once he did. He felt comfortable that Zverev was going to either give up his advantage in the point with a forehand that wasn't potent enough or potentially a +1 forehand error. And both of those things happened on a quite regular basis. Defensively, Alcaraz did a great job, defense or neutral, I should really say. Alcaraz did a great job extracting errors and extracting short balls, particularly by going through the middle of the court. I think that was a terrific tactic by Alcaraz, both on the forehand and the backhand side, just playing through the middle at Zverev's forehand. When Zverev is moving to his right and he's able to kind of lean on his right leg and kind of rotate off of his, I don't want to call it necessarily the running forehand, but just when he's moving to his right to hit the forehand, it looks more comfortable for him. The whole kinetic chain looks a little bit smoother, and his decision-making is clear. He's just going to kind of roll it back cross court. If you're telling me how is Zverev's forehand when he has to move to his right and hit a cross-court trade, it's fine. It's pretty good. It's very consistent. It's heavy enough. He gets good RPM, good jump off the court. He keeps it deep enough. That's not what's bad about Zverev's forehand. What's bad, or especially when he's not confident, what's bad about Zverev's forehand is when he has to make a decision and generate from the middle of the court, particularly when he's not able to either be moving to his right or moving to his left. And somehow, when he has to make these decisions, it seems like sometimes he's just having to hit off of his left foot instead of his right foot because he's not, hitting that open stance on the run, and instead he's just from the middle of the court, and he doesn't really get his weight forward, and he doesn't get, the acceleration that you would want. And also, very important, when you play through the middle against Zverev, he's not that comfortable hitting his inside out. I talked about him not going down the line on his forehand. Well, it's kind of a similar thing when he's in the middle of the court. Zverev likes to pull the forehand across his body, and he likes to go either cross court or inside in. He hits it much better that way. Well, when he's in the middle of the court, he does not hit the ball inside out with a lot of effectiveness. Doesn't flatten it out well, doesn't accelerate very well on that shot, and something about the way his racket head comes through the hitting zone doesn't allow him to hit that inside out from the middle of the court very effectively. Well, where does that set the rally? That sets the rally. If Zverev is going to go inside in and pull the forehand across him like he's comfortable with, that gives Alcaraz a forehand. And now we get into, once again, that forehand to forehand pattern, which is not what Zverev wants here. He wants the backhand to backhand, because his backhand, which was just overwhelmingly good at Roland Garros last year. I would say, I don't even want to frame it like, Alcaraz struggled in the backhand to backhand. It's not that Alcaraz struggled. It's that anybody would have struggled. The way Zverev was hitting his backhand at RG last year, no, I don't think anybody in the world would have actually been successful in the backhand to backhand. Nonetheless, even if Zverev's backhand wasn't at that level today, it's still a far more favorable pattern than a forehand to forehand. When Alcaraz was going through the middle of the court, he was actually still setting up the forehand to forehand exchange. And even when the ball was on Alcaraz's backhand, he did a great job, very, very mindful to continue to get it to Zverev's forehand and willing to use his backhand Not necessarily down the line, sometimes down the line, but more often just to the middle in order, even when he was trading and neutralizing. Watch his backhand defense in this match. All his backhand defense went middle. Against most players, it would go cross court, especially most righties. It would go cross court because that's how to get back into a point against most righties. You get it away from their forehand. Alcaraz was very smart. That's not how he was defending. Defending straight through the middle. It was very good. Second set, look at like how he played the break point at 2-all in the second set. Zverev kept making him hit backhands. You know, Alcaraz had a bunch of backhands in this rally, and Alcaraz kept going through the middle into Zverev's forehand. He was not hitting his backhand cross court, Alcaraz, when he could avoid it. Not that he was afraid of it, and actually when he did hit it, he liked to kind of roll it short angle, and that was pretty effective because it got Zverev, it affected Zverev's contact point quite a bit, and it took him off the center line of the court, and sometimes Alex was just kind of caught reaching for some of those shorter rolled backhands by Alcaraz. Soft hands also mattered a lot in this match. Zverev's lack thereof and Alcaraz's proficiency in the cat and mouse points. Talked about the serve and volley. You know, Zverev trying to serve and volley off of Alcaraz's deep position early on, and it didn't work because Zverev couldn't volley well enough. Zverev at the net, 4 of 15 at one point. I don't know what the stat was at the end of the match. Infosys has it 3 of 8. There's no way he was only at net 8 times. I don't know. The Infosys stats continue to be way off the tennis TV stats, and I usually just agree with the tennis TV stats a little bit more. You know, Alcaraz going to the drop shot, which is a good play against Zverev, not only because Zverev likes the deep court position from neutral, but also because Zverev just isn't that sure-handed up at net. I don't think that Alcaraz hit a lot of good drop shots in this match. I don't think the execution of it was great, but Zverev missed so much drop shot retrieval. He was so poor once he got up there that, you know, Alcaraz ended up winning a really good majority of the points when he did go to the drop shot and when he didn't miss the drop shot. But man, there were some inexcusable moments for Zverev. Back to the 2-all game in the second set, which was quite crucial because, look, the feed actually cut out in the 2 games prior to the 2-all game. So I don't know what those games looked like, but it seemed like Zverev was getting some momentum in this match. You know, it was 2-all. He had a couple of holds of serve. Only time in the match where he held serve twice in a row. So, you know, he had something good going here. And the first point of the second set, Alcaraz hit a horrible backhand drop shot. Zverev had the easiest forehand in the world, and he missed it long. Now he goes down love 15 in the game. Alcaraz hits a phenomenal forehand pass on the next point, and it's love 30. And Zverev gets his serve broken. So there it is. But he never should have lost that first point. And there were so many examples of that where it's not that Alcaraz hit a good drop shot, it's just that Zverev was so bad once he got up there. Great performance by Alcaraz. Just a stinker for Zverev and an uncompetitive round of 16 match. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.